1. Blog Talk Radio.
Don't touch me. I'll beat your brains out.
You believe in miracles? Yes! I mean, you can take a knee and try a 56-yard field goal. This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl. Let's get ready to rumble. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. But that's how it goes. California! The big game over Stafford!
I think that the NFL knows what Randy Moss has done with marijuana, and I think the NFL knows what Randy Moss does with marijuana.
Morning.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Good morning, and thank you for joining me.
Top of the morning, everybody. Those of you already on Facebook Live, Allison, Brian, the rest of you, the millions listening around the world, obviously, on Blog Talk Radio, live from Hollywood, California. This is Tough Love, and I am Alistair Conrad. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Top of the morning to you guys. Obviously, as usual, it's funny, like a lot to get to here in the next half hour. After the Super Bowl, I always just think, oh, it's just going to be a downtime until the football season starts again. You guys know me. I love football. And so I go through this little quick period, I think through a couple weeks in February after the Super Bowl where there's really nothing outside of college basketball that's going on, which isn't bad. It's just, the college basketball season itself outside of March Madness isn't what it used to be to me. And then obviously March Madness happens and the Masters happens. NBA and NHL playoffs start happening. And so there's just, the NFL draft builds up. NFL free agency kicks off in March. There's so much stuff that happens that I just kind of forget that, there's just so much stuff going on outside of that 3-week stretch in February where I, get depressed for a little bit. So I looked yesterday and I'm just thinking good God, we had 4 NBA games. We had, I think, 3 NHL hockey games. There was 4 major boxing fights last night that were really, really important to the sport. And there's the NFL draft, which is Thursday, starts on Thursday. And, I had Scott Wright on last week, president of DraftCountdown.com, to discuss the draft. But I could literally talk about the draft for the next half hour, but there's other stuff to get to. So let's start with it. First and foremost, I want to throw this out there. It's amazing to think that a no-hitter can be down the list. But first, I just want to talk about an article that my buddy Bob sent me, and a couple other of our friends, that is by The Ringer, a Bill Simmons website. And it's basically the disgrace of minor league baseball. I posted it on my Facebook. It's a great read. It is a disgrace. Minor league players aren't even getting paid minimum wage. It's insane, really, to think about. But at the same time, I look at 2 things in this, and I'll leave it at that. But first off, we're talking about billionaires. And, nobody should be shocked that billionaires are shrewd and, and don't want to give up their money. That's just, it's unfortunate, but that's life. That is why the 1% is the 1%, because they're just assholes and they're shrewd. So anyway, that's one. Number 2, in all major sports, They have what is called the collective bargaining agreement that the players sign off on. So granted, this situation, this article talking about minor league players, not being paid enough, so forth, it sucks. But at the same time, your players union signed on to this. You signed off on it for this to happen. So look in the mirror before you get mad at anybody, but come the next CBA, change it. And make this change, because it is a disgrace. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, look in the mirror. If you want better things for your own people and players, change the CBA. That's it. That's football, that's basketball, baseball, so forth. I will say this too. 1,200 people get drafted in baseball every year. Think about that. There's 256 in football. There's 33 66 or something, 62 in basketball. So I mean, it's a numbers game. And you got three, low A, high A, double A, triple A, all these stadiums, all these players, and like 90% of them aren't going to make it, or more, 95%. And so owners know this. Why would they pay people who never gone above double A any money? They know they're not going to, it is what it is. I'm getting all fired up over baseball. I give a shit about baseball. You guys know that. So anyway, it's a good read. It's interesting. That's bottom line. I thank Bob for sending it. Next, like I said, speaking of baseball, there was a no-no last night, and it's impressive anytime there's a no-hitter, unless it's like 7 walks. I'll never understand how anybody gets excited over a no-hitter if there's 7 walks involved. Like, oh, you no-hit. Yeah, well, he walked 7 people. It's like, Allison, I love you, sweetie. Good morning. So I just, but last night, this kid throws a no-hitter for Oakland. I want to say his name's Sean Manaea for the Oakland A's, a lefty. No-hit the hottest team in baseball, by the way, the Boston Red Sox. And the Boston Red Sox going into last night were hitting as a team. Think about this. Almost 300, a 293 as a team they were hitting. So to be no hit is pretty impressive for this kid. So kudos to him, rock and roll. And one thing I want to get to real quick before I get into the meat, the NBA. I've said it for years. Everybody, it's just like a catchphrase. Defense wins championships. So 2 nights ago, I end up throwing a bet down a parlay that the Jets would beat the Wild. I knew the Wild were going to get killed. They did. They lost 5-0. But I also thought, instead of doing 2 separate bets, like I was going into it, I had it, just about to place the bet. And then I was like, let's make it a little bit extra money. And greed, lost. But there's a story to this, or a point to this. I had the Predators winning at home up 3-1 to take the series against Colorado. Colorado was down to their 3rd goalie. 3rd. Alex Hammond. Varlamov's out. Bernier was out. They're down to Alex Hammond. 2 years ago, Alex Hammond stood on his head for 21 games. Ottawa went 20-1. He had only played 2 games this whole season. But what happens? He goes into Nashville. He stops 41 of 42 shots, and I lose. I lost. So defense wins championships, be it a goalie who's standing on his head, a pitcher like last night for Oakland, who Oakland has no business beating the Red Sox, but this kid goes and beats the Red Sox, who are batting .293. Defense wins championships. Not every year, but the majority of years. And I love it because I'm a defensive guy, as you guys know that. So anyway, moving forward, as a Timberwolves fan, last night was refreshing. It was a game that everything went right for the Timberwolves. They shot 50%. They shot 55% from 3-pointers. They beat Houston, by the way, 121-105. I should mention that. But they shot 55% from 3. They made 15 3-pointers. They had made 13 in the first 2 games of the series. They at one point made 9 straight 3-pointers. They also were up 12, plus 12 in points in the paint, plus 13 points off turnovers, fast break points, plus 11. They played the perfect game last night. They really did. Rockets didn't play a horrible game. In fact, the Rockets, when down 11 in the first half, in the second quarter, came back to make it a 1-point difference. And quite honestly, as a Timberwolves fan, as a Minnesota fan in general, I thought, this is it. They're going to come back, blow us out in the third, and take from there. When in fact, Timberwolves outscored them by 11 in the third quarter and actually outscored them by 4 in the fourth. So outscored them 15 points in the second half, went on to win by 16. The best part about last night, though, is the fact that there was a certain intensity from the team that, watching them throughout the season, there were times where it just didn't feel like, especially defensively, which is their Achilles heel. They didn't, they weren't trying, it felt like. They didn't have that intensity. Last night, Teague, Gibson, Wiggins, of all people, Wiggins, all of a sudden showed fire. It's unfortunate. Wiggins is this anomaly who is so ridiculously talented that if he was to play with that edge last night, and, the dude and Bob, mentioned Russell Westbrook this morning, as kind of an asshole. And whatever. I say he's fiery. He's a competitor. He's like Kobe. He's an asshole on the court because he wants to beat you so bad. If Wiggins had that intensity, think how good Andrew Wiggins would be. Think about that. How great Andrew Wiggins would be. He would be a top 5 player. He really would. And on top of it, he's got the same size as Scottie Pippen. If he put his mind to it, defensively, he'd be an all-NBA defensive guy. It's just he's got this chill to him. And he's Anthony Barr, play when I want to, whatever, But all of a sudden, last night, he got fired up. Teague sitting there getting in Chris Paul's face last night. You guys know me. I've routinely bashed the letting go of Rubio and the signing of Jeff Teague because I'm a big Rubio fan. I don't feel the need to have to score from the point as much as a lot of people do. I think that you can facilitate and have other people score for you. You have scorers on the Timberwolves who can do that. So I think Rubio got the shaft. But last night, Jeff Teague played the best game, in my opinion, he's played all season when it mattered most. If the Timberwolves lost last night, down 3-0, obviously that would have been it. Game over. They ended up playing really well. Jeff Teague came through when he needed to most. So it's a big win. Keep in mind, the Timberwolves were winning in the fourth quarter in game 1 at Houston. They only lost by 3, 104-101. Obviously they got shellacked in game 2, 102-82. With Harden only going, I think, 2 of 18. So with that, everybody said, oh, well, he's never going to do that again, and they're going to come back and, win. The Timberwolves have been in it. That is what makes the Timberwolves, as a Minnesota fan, so frustrated. And it's frustrating to watch them because they've got talent. They've got so much talent on this team. And it's just, they got to put it together. I haven't even mentioned Jimmy Butler, who went for 28. By the way, Derrick Rose. I would be remiss if I did not talk about Derrick Rose last night. I haven't even looked at the studio. I apologize. If anybody's calling, I'm sorry. Call back in. That bitch upstairs is vacuuming again, and I'm going to go and choke her out. But I don't even know if it's a woman. Could be a dude vacuuming. Anyway, Derrick Rose played 21 minutes last night, scored 17 points. He was a plus 13. There was times where it was vintage Rose, MVP vintage Rose last night. He actually said before the game yesterday that he was back to his old self. And sure enough, forecasting a bit, whatever it was, he ended up playing exceptional. Think about that. 21 minutes played, 17 points. Shot 16 times in 21 minutes, which I find impressive, but he shot 50%. As a team, they shot 50%, 55 from 3. They played a perfect game last night, and hopefully they can replicate that tomorrow night and pull even in the series. I'm telling you, the Timberwolves are a good squad. And they were a 4 seed before getting, before Butler went down and ending up having to, back in, if you will, to the 8th seed. So either way, it was a really, really good game. Speaking of Rubio was one of 2 people yesterday who went for a triple-double. I'll get to the other one shortly. But Utah beats Oklahoma City last night to go up 2-1 in that series, and Rubio had arguably the game of his life. Triple-double, 26 points, 10 assists, 11 rebounds. He was a plus 22 last night. 2 of 9 from three-pointers. Everybody, all you boo-hoo bitches out there and love bashing Rubio are going to say, well, he still can't shoot. He went 9 of 18. So granted, you take away the 2 of 9, and the guy went 7 of 9 from 2-pointers, which I don't care that he had 26 points, the 10 assists, the 11 rebounds. This guy, and he plays defense. I like what Teague did last night. If he could come with it every night like that and play like he did last night for the Timberwolves, rock and roll. I don't know why I have a soft spot in my heart for Rubio, but I love what he does. Think about the Jazz. Rubio was brought to the Jazz to be the facilitator for Gordon Hayward, right? And then Gordon Hayward gets traded to Boston, and everybody writes off the Jazz. They got, granted they got Rudy Gobert, Rubio. All of a sudden they draft Mitchell, who is, in the running for Rookie of the Year. Probably not. Going to go the other guy who got the triple-double, who I'll get to soon enough. But all of a sudden, Utah is, they play good defense. It's just exactly what I said earlier. In football, if you have a strong running game and good defense, more times than not, you're going to win a game. It's just how it is, especially come playoff time. And that, to me, is the Utah Jazz. They play solid defense, and they've got a good running game. And they scored just enough. Last night, they scored plenty, 115. But kept a Thunder team in check. Scored 102. By the way, I want to go back real quick. The Houston Rockets, have scored 104, 102, and 101. 105. 105 is the most they've scored against the Timberwolves. They averaged 113 this year. And so the Timberwolves playing good defense. By the way, Taj Gibson. Gosh, I keep forgetting all this stuff I have, wanted to talk about. Taj Gibson scored 2 points last night. 2 points. On a stat sheet, it doesn't really show like he did much. Defensively, Gibson ran the show last night. Played out of his mind defense last night. So, just wanted to throw that in there. I digress. But the Jazz and Ricky Rubio, I love it. I love when Rubio does well. I think they're going to beat the Thunder. One thing about the Thunder, Russell Westbrook, by the way, almost got a triple-double. He was an assist away from a triple-double, but he only shot 5 of 17. Had a bad game. Paul George, 23. Carmelo Anthony, 14, whatever. But Russell Westbrook said after the game, when talking about Rubio, he said, I'm going to shut that shit off next game. I'm going to shut that shit off next game. Game 4 in Utah is going to be fun because Westbrook, whether you love him or hate him, he's coming out to kill people. And it will be interesting to see what type of not a bounce back game, but what type of game Rubio has in game 4 after doing this with Westbrook wanting so badly to shut him down. That's going to be amazing. I talked about the other triple-double that happened yesterday. Ben Simmons and Philadelphia come back on Miami, win in Miami to go up 3-1 on Miami. It's interesting. I sit there and as a Timberwolves fan, for a couple years now, Timberwolves were talked about within the league as being the team, that team. Just give them a couple years, they're going to be that team. And, still waiting. The addition of Butler, no doubt, helps. And Teague, you could argue. And obviously they're showing signs of improvement now, especially in this series with Houston. And what's to behold? Philadelphia and the process, wow. Really think about it. Like, Philadelphia is what the Timberwolves, in my opinion, should be right now. I look at the Philadelphia 76ers better than I do the Timberwolves right now. Something about them just screams they're there. I mean, they are really, really good. Ben Simmons is who I was talking about, triple-double. Got one yesterday. I want to say 17-10 assists, 13 rebounds. Granted, he had 7 turnovers. Embiid had 8 turnovers yesterday. Embiid had 14 and 12. But they are a squad. I don't know what it is. They're just, when I think about them, they're really, really good. And I would not be surprised at all with how the East is, especially with the Cavs, which I'll get to in a sec. But, Boston's depleted. They're not going to go anywhere. Toronto, obviously, they could. They're probably going to handle Washington today. But Philadelphia, I would not be surprised at all if it was Philadelphia in the finals against whoever from the West. But I wouldn't be surprised because how the East is set up. But Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and granted, they did some really, really good things at the trade deadline to bring in some shooters. But you got J.J. Redick, who, obviously fires from 3, had a bad night last night, 2 of 9, Rubio-esque. But they brought in Saric and, who is it, Bellini, I think it was, something like that. Either way, to improve their three-point shooting. I have a feeling come Tuesday night, they're up 3-1. They're going to be playing back in Philly to close out Miami. I think that's probably a done deal. And then they're going to move on to face, I don't know. I can't remember. Either way, Philly's legit. Now, one thing I will say, I transitioned this wrong, but with Cleveland, because I wanted to get to Portland and New Orleans, I'll do that in a second. But with Ben Simmons, triple-double, are probably going to be the rookie of the year. There was talk about LeBron possibly going to Philadelphia. That's not going to happen. That would, to me, we're talking LeBron James, and he's awesome. But why would you bring LeBron to Philly? That would only take away from the growth of Ben Simmons. It makes 0 sense. LeBron has to go to a team that he will obviously be the center, and then you bring other people on and so forth. And there's a part of me that thinks unless he goes to the Knicks, which I'd love to see with him and Porzingis, that's what I want to see, or the Lakers, and bring in Paul George and DeMarcus Cousins, and have your little super team here, in Los Angeles. There's a part of me that thinks he might just stick in Cleveland. But think about this. They're down 2-1. They're playing game 4 today in Indiana. Could go down 3-1. Indiana has won 5 out of the 7 games this year against Cleveland. Indiana, they've got Cleveland's number. 5 out of 7 against Cleveland. Think about if Cleveland has a first-round exit. And what is up with Kevin Love? As a Timberwolves fan, when Kevin Love was on the Timberwolves, he was a double-double machine. It was unbelievable. Allison, I love you too, babe. Pretty in pink. Thank you. What? Wow. I'm not going to repeat what Allison said on Facebook Live. Anyway, Kevin Love was a double-double machine. I'm blushing. But all of a sudden, he's just disappeared. LeBron doesn't have what he needs in Cleveland around him right now. I don't necessarily know what happens, to Cleveland or LeBron. Dude just wrote Porzingis might be out next year. That's news to me. If that's the case, that's so sad. I love watching that dude play. Bottom line, LeBron's not going to Philly. It would make 0 sense, 100%. And I don't know how that rumor got started, but Ben Simmons is a younger LeBron. Why would you even think about doing that? So Cleveland, I tell you what, I have a feeling they'll lose today, and it would take a miracle for them to come back against Indiana. And if that's the case, it will be interesting to see how the unfolding of where LeBron goes, unfolds. So with that, lastly, because I only have, let me see here, like 5 minutes left, which is probably perfect. Portland and New Orleans. New Orleans sweeps Portland. Anthony Davis, 47 points, 11 rebounds. Drew Holiday. Give it up for Drew Holiday. Like, this is a guy, unfortunately, who has to, really dealt with injuries, right? But I had no idea this guy was so locked down on defense. We're talking, this guy is locked down on defense. And, oh, by the way, went for 41 points last night, too. So not only did you get 47 and 11 from Anthony Davis, who's ridiculous, by the way. The brow is the brow. But Drew Holiday goes for 41. Oh, yeah. And Rajon Rondo, whom I equate to Ricky Rubio, only had 7 points. But guess who had 16 assists and looks like he did when he was winning championship with the Celtics? Rajon Rondo is back. I'm telling you right now, the Pelicans look so much better without Boogie Cousins. And it's not a slam on Boogie. Sometimes when you just have two bigs, it doesn't work very well. And so, it's kind of like Washington with Bradley Beal and John Wall. It's just like, they just don't, they're good, but they're not great. And that's how the Pelicans were, it seems like, with Davis and Boogie Cousins. Now that Cousins is gone, boom, Davis has averaged, I want to say 32 points or 33 points since Boogie's out. He's averaged, obviously, a double-double. Anthony Davis is amazing, but Drew Holiday is on fire. Rajon Rondo, incredible. I'm going to tell you, though, the piece to me that was sneaky trade deadline stuff that kind of went under the radar, except to basketball people. Mirotic. He only scored 10 points last night, got 11 boards. But to me, there was a time, it was a trade with the Bulls. There was a time with the Bulls that Mirotic actually was, doing really well. And keep in mind, this is 2-3 years ago. And all of a sudden now he gets traded. Boogie goes down, torn ACL or Achilles. Mirotic comes in and seamlessly is mixes into the starting lineup. I love this dude. I loved him at the Bulls. I don't know why. As a Timberwolves fan, I think Mirotic is a lot like Bjelica. And Bjelica, unfortunately, the system itself, he doesn't get the opportunity to really showcase what he's about. He did during the middle of the season, Bjelica I'm talking about, when he had the opportunity to play a lot. When Butler went down, he was inserted into the starting lineup, played really well. Butler comes back, the guy disappears. He doesn't have the opportunity. It's the same thing with Mirotic. All of a sudden, at the Bulls, he was, good, blah, blah, blah. But the Pelicans, smart enough to see that this guy can really help their squad with Cousins down. They trade for him. Next thing you know, this guy comes in, playing 40 minutes a night, and really benefiting the squad. It's incredible. It really is. So the Pelicans, by the way, do you remember when Portland was the team to beat? They got swept. Portland. I'm telling you, the West is so good. But man, Portland, a 49-33 season, at one time was the team to beat. And then all of a sudden, just poof, your season's done. You're gone. 60 seconds left here on Tough Love.
60 seconds.
One little quip about the NHL playoffs. They're so good right now. NHL playoff hockey is, say what you want, poo-poo, whatever. But today, right now, going on, Pittsburgh and Philly in Game 6. Nashville, Colorado at 4 o'clock here, Game 6. Vegas. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Vegas Knights. Remember NFL expansion, Carolina, Jacksonville. The second year, they both made the NFC and AFC championship respectively. Vegas Knights. Think about what happened with that. NFL said, we can't have expansions this good off the bat anymore, so they revised what they did, and Houston ended up getting the shaft. That's why David Carr's career went in the shit, because they had no offensive line to
10
protect,
seconds.
nothing around him. That's what's going to happen in the NHL. The next expansion team is not going to be as lucky as Vegas. Blog Talk, I love you guys. I'm out with you. Have a great Sunday fun day. I love you guys.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Okay, so anyway, I'm out on Blog Talk. Facebook Live, I'm still with you guys. Allison, you're the greatest. I love you. I can't wait to see you one of these days. Anyway, I'm going to go to the beach. It's 80 degrees and absolutely beautiful. I'm going to take my motorcycle, go for a ride. I hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday fun day and enjoy it and get out and do what you do. Have an awesome, awesome day. Yeah. I think that's all I got. I think that's it. So anyway, love you guys. Thanks for stopping by. Go and enjoy your day, and I'll see you next Sunday. Drive fast, take chances. See you.